What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be answering the age-old question, should you buy a used razor or not? So there's a lot of people that always ask, should I buy a used razor? Is it a good idea, or should I just bite the bullet and buy something brand new? So there's pros and cons to both, obviously, right? So you have people that say, don't go buy a brand new one. They depreciate so fast. They come with nothing. You don't get any options or anything like that. And then you have the people that say, don't buy used because you could be buying somebody else's problem. They could be lying to you and not telling you there's something wrong with it. Both of those people would be correct, 100%. So what I'm here to go over today is what you should look for if you're going to be buying one of these machines used. I just picked up this machine. Great machine. I picked it up from a buddy of mine, so I know it's coming from a good home. It was taken care of. It sat longer than it had actually been used. So I'm confident in this machine. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go over exactly what you need to look for if you're going to go pick up one of these machines used. So there's a few options you can choose from, quite a few in the side-by-side world. So there's Polaris, there's Can-Am, there's so many different options when it comes to side-by-side. So I prefer the razors. Other people, prefer Can-Am. Some people like Kawasaki or even Yamaha. So you have to figure out the type of machine that you're looking for, what kind of riding you're going to be doing with it, and then what your budget is. And after that, you can go and start looking for the machine to buy. Plenty of applications to choose from. There's Facebook Marketplace, there's OfferUp, Letgo, Craigslist. You can check pretty much everywhere and try to find these machines. All right, guys, so once you actually find the machine that you're interested in, and you talk with the seller, and you guys meet up and you get there and you're looking at the machine, the main thing you want to do is just walk around the machine, just look at everything, just try to slowly take everything in, look over the whole machine. You can kind of get a grip for if it was kept inside or if it was just parked outside most of its life. If it's real rusty and sun faded and all that, then it probably wasn't parked in the garage, and that could cause issues as far as just things wearing out, plastic cracking, things like that. Things rusting, so you don't really want that. That was the one thing I liked about my machine that I just bought here. This is a 2014 Razor 800. It's got 140 hours on it, 580 miles, and it's like new. Whoever had it before my buddy bought it took really good care of it. My buddy bought it exactly how it sits right now. I bought it from him. He only had it for a year and drove it twice, so the only thing I did was add 2 more speaker pods to the back. But anyway, so you just want to go over the whole machine, go around it, look at everything. You want to look at the plastics, make sure they're not cracked or faded or anything. Look at the tires, look at the suspension. The main thing on these is the axles. They sometimes get play in them. You can kind of pull on them and feel if they're tight or if they're making any noise or anything like that. So obviously you would want to test drive the machine, but this is a good indication. Just walking around, you can kind of get an idea of how well the machine was taken care of. If it's been detailed or washed after every ride, or if is it covered in mud and it's caked on like it's been sitting like that for weeks. So that all just kind of starts to tell a story of how well the previous owner took care of the machine. So while we're on the outside of the machine, like I said, if there's any play in the axles, you know that you're probably going to have to do some axles soon. If there's any play, then they're starting to get worn out, you're going to have to replace them. Also, same thing with wheel bearings. These machines are really prone to wheel bearing issues. So one thing you can do is on a flat surface, you can just rock the wheel back and forth. And if it moves the machine, or if there's any play in the wheel, you can really feel that. So all of these are just maintenance things. They're not huge deals, but at the same time, if you have to start putting a couple $100s in axles, a couple $100s in wheel bearings, after you just paid however much for the machine, it'll start to get expensive pretty quickly. Another good thing to do is to check the oil. So on this particular machine, this is a Razor 800 4-seater, so it's underneath the passenger rear right seat. So you can see the engine oil is right there. I know the oil is good, but that's a good best practice is, to see how clean the oil is, to see if the owner's been keeping up on the oil changes. Another good thing to do too is, make sure when you go to see the machine that the machine is not warmed up, like they haven't started it and driven it around, because that could sometimes mean that there's starting issues, or it could have a hard time idling until it's warm, or anything like that. So I usually ask sellers to make sure that the machine is cold when I get there, so that I can give it a cold start and see how it starts and idles when it's ice cold. All right, so now you can get in the machine, you can start it up. Make sure it starts up easy, make sure there's no funky noises when you start it up, make sure it idles good, make sure it gets up to temperature, make sure the fan kicks on and all that. So once the machine is running on these Polaris, you can check the hours and the mileage by hitting this button here. At least on the 800s, the newer ones, it's similar, but the dash is in the middle. But most of these are over here before, I think, 2019. So you just push this button, you can see the DC voltage from the battery. You can see that there's 133.8 hours. That's a trip. 600 miles. RPMs. And then the temperature. So I always like to just give it a little bit of gas. Make sure the temperature doesn't come up too fast. These take a while for the fan to kick on, so you will have to go for a ride and then come back, you know, and just park it. Once it gets to, I think, 199, the fan will kick on. It'll go up to about 204, and then it should come back down. So then you want to make sure also that you know, it goes into gear easily. For example, reverse. It should show it on the dash as well. See, it'll say reverse. Then you've got neutral. It'll show it on the dash. You've got low gear right there. And then you have high gear all the way back. It'll show it on the dash. And then it should go easily back into park, just like that. If it's tough to get into gear when it's running, but you can get it into gear when the machine is off, that's usually the sign that there's a clutch issue, that the belt is staying engaged. So you want to make sure that that isn't happening. Another thing too, make sure, you know, while you're in the cabin, touch everything. Make sure everything works. You know, turn the key on. Make sure the lights work. You know, make sure the 4x4 symbol comes on the dash when you first turn it on. Make sure if there's a winch, make sure the winch works. If there's a light bar, you know, turn the light bar on. Make sure that works. Touch everything. You know, make sure, turn on the radio. Make sure the radio works. Make sure, you know, the lights work if there's extra lights. Seat belts, you know, all of that. If you have to start fixing them, it gets expensive pretty quick. You know, during the test drive, you want to make sure that, you know, the reverse works. You want to try low gear. You want to try high gear. You want to make sure the four-wheel drive works. I had a machine that I bought and the four-wheel drive didn't work. Had to have a ton of money put into it for the four-wheel drive to be fixed. It was a nightmare. It felt like it worked when I tested the machine out, but it didn't. So the best thing you could do is just go to some soft sand, put it in low gear, turn the four-wheel drive on, cut the wheel hard so that you can see it sticking out on the driver's side, and just mash the gas, because then you should be able to see the front tires lose traction and spin dirt up. That'll tell you that the four-wheel drive is engaging. All right, so now comes the kind of important stuff. So obviously you have a budget in mind, and then there's also the value of the machine, right? So, but the value is somewhat relative because it depends on where you live, depends on, you know, the condition of the machine, it depends on the modifications on the machine. So the pricing and everything is all relative, really. So I got a good deal on this machine. The main thing that interested me is that it had a lot of modifications that I don't have to do. You know, for example, these doors, these Pro Armor doors are expensive. I don't believe they make them anymore for the 800s. If they do, they're hard to find. You know, it had the roof, it had, you know, it has a lift on it. It has high lifter arched A-arms in the front for more clearance. You know, it's got the aftermarket bumpers. It's got a winch on it. It's got a full windshield. Light bars, full stereo system. I mean a really expensive wet sound stereo system. I added 2 more pods to it for a little bit more loudness. It was already insane loud. You know, it's got a subwoofer under the dash. You know, it just had a lot of really good features. It's got a, you know, full snorkel kit, pod lights in the rear. I mean, everything is there. So I really don't have to do anything to it. So there's that point where you're either paying a little bit less for a machine, but you have to now throw all of these modifications, thousands of dollars in modifications, you know, at the machine to make it what you want it. But then there's some times where you can pay just a little bit more and you can get a machine that you don't really have to put all this money into. You know, it has to be your taste, obviously, but at least, you know, you have a good starting point to where you can put your own touches on it and not have to spend a whole bunch of money. So should you buy a used RZR or side-by-side in general? I would say yes. I love buying used machines because you save a lot of money. For me to duplicate this in something brand new with all of the modifications would cost me 3 times what I paid. So it just depends. It depends what your budget is. If you want something brand new and you're able to afford to make it your own, great, then go ahead and go that route. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend, you know, the $20,000-$30,000 these machines cost brand new without any modifications, then maybe a used one is a good idea for you. So all in all, if you decide to go and get one of these machines used, you know, make sure you know what you're doing, do your research, maybe bring somebody with you who may be more mechanically inclined that has one of these machines or knows the machine a little bit more than you do. Even just sometimes having a second pair of eyes is always good, just to, you know, go over the machine. They may find something that you didn't notice. But just do your research. Certain years had issues as well, so you want to make sure you do research on that. Make sure you're not buying a 2012 when you should be getting a 2013 because the 2012s had issues, so on and so forth. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be doing some more work on this machine, some more riding, do some more videos like that. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.